Hello, my name's Kirioth, and this is probably going to be a bit of a shorter video today, but I want to just talk briefly about VR, because I am now in a position whereby I'm fondly remembering the time where VR was being heralded as the future. Again, I'm aware that it's happened several times, but this time it really did feel as though we were actually seeing a genuine shift in the trend, in the way things were going. With PSVR, with the Vive, with the Oculus, it seemed as though perhaps VR was actually making significant headway into actual consumer space. It was no longer just the realm of kind of fantasy and someone who's got £2,000 or £3,000 lying around to splurge on a headset or something like that. It actually seemed like it was getting close to being kind of consumer ready, that we were actually going to start seeing titles that really took advantage of VR, and that we were going to see it move. We were actually going to be at the point where we could have VR in every home. But I've been looking through Steam recently, and I've been watching videos on YouTube, and I can't help but feel that VR once again is just fading into relative obscurity. It's become a novelty again, which I didn't expect to happen. I honestly thought that this would be the next step for gaming as a whole. Admittedly, not enough to buy a headset myself, but from what others had told me from my experiences in using a Vive myself, I kind of thought to myself, surely there's no way this time that this can fail, because everything is done so well. Headsets are now comfortable. They can be run on, admittedly, powerful computers, but computers that are not out of the realm of possibility for, a person's home, especially someone who is a dedicated gamer. In the right age bracket, there's no reason why people couldn't save a little bit and end up with at least something like PSVR. And yet, it's just not happened, and it's starting to look like it isn't going to happen at all. If anything, from quite a few people I've spoke to, it seems to be that VR is once again moving out of the home and becoming something that you don't do when you're in your office. Instead, it's taking place in things like theme parks and Disney World and stuff like that, Universal Studios. I hear lots of great things about all these amazing things that big companies are doing with VR, especially at theme parks and the like. I hardly ever hear anyone say, "Oh my god, I played this game, this VR game at home, and it was absolutely amazing, you should try it." It seems like the novelty factor of that first wave of consumer units has already worn off, to the point where I rarely see people talk about VR unless they are asked, "Hey, don't you have a VR headset? What are you doing with that?" And the answer is inevitably, "Well, there's not that many games out for it." Now, you see, the thing is, that by itself is a bit of a baffling statement. The amount of attention that VR was getting and the number of companies who seem to back it wholeheartedly, you would expect that we'd be seeing a hell of a lot of stuff. Innovation around every corner, people working out how to tackle the movement issue, how to make games truly immersive. And yet, if you go onto Steam especially, there's a lot of silly simulator stuff, and there's a lot of shooters where you stand still, you fire a machine gun around you in a circle, then you point your controller down a corridor, move over there, and do it all over again. There's even more games where there's no movement whatsoever. You are just static, standing there, shooting things in the head. The number of zombie games is overwhelming, and some of them, even though they claim not to be zombie games, are clearly inspired by zombie games anyway. It's a bit of a weird situation, because really, VR should have the power to ignite imagination and make developers sit up and take notice. After all, VR should be the thing that truly immerses players into the game. It should be the thing that makes them sit there and go, "I've got to play that because it looks like it would be amazing." And yet, I've yet to see any sort of killer app from anyone, really. There's loads of neat little things. Hell, even the stuff that Valve just packed in with the Vive were interesting, they were fun, they were different. Are they replayable infinitely? Well, I mean, no game's really replayable infinitely, but no, they didn't have that kind of edge of, "I must go back and do this again." As I say, there are plenty of games that involve picking up countless number of guns and shooting zombies or various other enemies from a distance. But again, do they have that insane replayability? Even things like Audio Shield, which I genuinely hoped would be a massive success, and seems to have done okay, it's not got that amazing edge, and frankly the library system for it, the last time I checked it out, was bad at the very least. It was messy, hard to navigate, and it kind of made me wonder, is VR effectively dead? Is consumer grade VR ever going to become a real thing? I mean, it felt like it could this time round, but it hasn't been. Does the system just need to become cheaper? Is there just not enough of a market for existing developers, existing big developers, the ones with the time, the money, the talent to make something truly exceptional in VR? Is there just not enough consumer units out there to make it worth their time? How do you change that? This is the other issue that I think VR has got. One of the big reasons that it might be that there just aren't enough VR units out there to make it worth developing a game, an actual big budget title, is that it's kind of difficult to persuade people to buy VR. It's all very well telling them that it's incredibly immersive and that you feel like you're there, but if you're sat there looking at a monitor and watching someone else with their VR headset on look around in this weird fishbowl view, as a lot of these videos are recorded, that doesn't look immersive. It doesn't look like something that will have that kind of effect on your brain. It does not look like something that would make you think you are really there. You are actually experiencing another reality. Now the truth is, actually, especially the Vive, it was an incredible experience when I think I spent about 5 hours or so using it, pretty much non-stop. By the time it finished, I was an absolute mess. I was covered in sweat, legs were aching because I was jumping about all over the place like a nutter. It was genuinely an immersive and amazing experience. Some of the control elements that go on with the Vive especially have an amazing ability to trick your body into thinking that there is pressure when there isn't any. For instance, pulling back the string on a bow. The way the controllers vibrated slightly, it felt like there was genuine resistance there, which made it feel like I was actually pulling back a string on a bow. It was incredible. But even when I explain that to people that I've known for years, people that I've gamed with for years, people who I consider good friends, the initial reaction from them was not, that sounds amazing. The initial reaction was, sounds like bullshit. And of course it does. Of course it sounds like bullshit. It's something that is almost impossible to describe unless you've tried it. It's very much like depression in that way, except it's obviously a lot more fun. How do you get people to try VR? Especially when units are still relatively expensive. Especially when, PC-based VR, where obviously the PS VR system is not too bad for what it is. And of course you need a PlayStation for it. That's not too expensive. It's doable. PC-based VR is far more intensive, it's far more expensive, and frankly there's more chance of you fucking it up if you don't know what you're doing. You can't just give people VR headsets because they're too expensive to produce, and that means that for a lot of people they're too expensive to buy. So for a while it seems that VR was kind of stuck in this weird limbo land, whereby the few who had it would declare it to be fantastic and amazing, and something that everyone should try. The people who had no access to it had no real inclination to try it because there was no evidence there to actually push them over the edge. You don't take a gamble on £600 or £700 worth of hardware unless you have a lot of money to burn. But frankly, not many people do have enough money to burn to just throw that at some sort of untested technology that they have no first-hand experience of. VR is, I think, increasingly becoming that thing that you do at the theme park. That amazing crafted experience where you put on a headset that's been put on by 1,000 people before you. You sit in your seat and you go on an incredible journey. And then you go home and you load up your game on your normal monitor. Because nothing is going to quite match that experience at home. Because there aren't enough people using it. There aren't enough people buying it. And incredible though it may be, it's just not at the level whereby your standard consumer is going to be interested in giving it a go. Or if they are, they're not going to want to spend the money. That's genuinely a shame. I think we will eventually see cheaper VR. We will eventually see headsets come down in price. We'll eventually see better software. But for now, it's kind of stuck in this weird half existence. where it's not really taking the world by storm anymore, but it's also not going anywhere. It just exists. And eventually we might see some sort of progress, but for now, VR is just kind of a disappointment to me. Anyway, what do you think? Have you tried VR? Is it amazing? Do you love it? Do you have a headset yourself? Or is it something you're not bothered by? Is it too expensive? Are there just not any games that you want to play in VR? I'd be interested to hear what you think about this one. Let me know in the comments below. In the meantime, thank you very much for watching. There's a subscribe button, Patreon, and all of that stuff. More videos, the usual. I'll see you next time. Toodaloo.